and it needs to be at times just outlandish. I think you hit it when you said, be a kid.
Yeah.
Because when we were a kid, I'm going to give you a really quick story. When I was a kid, well, good day. I'm Steve.
And I'm Steve.
And this is the Steve and Steve Show. So we got a great one today, Steve.
Okay.
The dreams. And I mean, let's face it, whereas we've grown up, how many no's do you get growing up, would you say, starting at a young child to adolescence, let's say? Are no's part of your world?
We definitely live in a negative influence society, right? Everything we see, TV, if you have a protective parents or want to see, by them wanting to protect us in different ways or different levels, we hear no in a variety of ways. I know there was a study done that by the time someone turns 2, they've heard over 400 no's.
Good Lord.
So
that's almost a no a day. Well, not quite.
Not quite.
Every other day, a no every other day of their
life.
life.
If you think about when does an infant start to move, right? When they're not moving, they're just pooping, sleeping, and eating.
That's true.
They don't really hear a whole lot of no's, but when they start to move, right, that's when you start to say, oh, don't touch that, or...
So actually that is a no a day if you think about that, because that first year they're not doing a whole lot. That second year is when they're in the terrible 2s and they get... So my point with bringing that up though is dreams are something that you really don't want to have a no with, right? If you're dreaming about something and you start with, no, I can't do that, you're certainly not going to come up with a dream. Now, we talk about goals a lot, right? And it seems that adults and folks that are, let's say, in their 20s, oftentimes have some issues coming up with goals. And I would submit that it's because, or part of it's because they don't come up with dreams. So what we're going to talk about today, Steve, I think you and I agreed on, is how do we get our dreams out there so that we can sift through those and turn them into goals and then make some of that happen. So what do you do? What do you do to get the dreams out?
Okay. So we're not talking about like when we sleep, we have different types of dreams or nightmares, right?
Maybe we should have a video on that because I sure love dreams. I mean, I've got some pretty vibrant ones that might be an interesting video.
Yeah. So you make a good point. So when kids are, they're in middle school, high school, they're looking forward to the future, right? What am I going to do when I get out of high school, or when I get done with college? What's my life look like? And so
I'm going to be an actor, an astronaut, a
firefighter,
pilot.
And so they all have these ambitious, what I would call dreams, right? And as life goes on and dreams are not fulfilled, and then they take a job, right? And that the job does its purpose at the time that they take it is to provide them some productive means of putting food and shelter, right? The dollar amount that they're trading for. So it solves that immediate need that they may have. But what I've found is that, and I think where you were going with so many no's, is that as people progress, it's not so much no's on their dreams, but they get used to hearing themselves talk about that's not their childhood dreams are no longer an option.
It's not realistic. Yeah. You can't do that.
Yeah. So I think with the older some folks get, that just gets solidified that they can't achieve certain things. Maybe it's the big house, maybe it's to have the job that they wanted when they were 15, 16 years old, right? When they were looking forward to life, and so they got into a rut or a stuck stage, and they think that they can be there. So they kind of teach themselves to not dream anymore. And so when we come out and say, hey, write down your goals for the year or what you want to do, they have a challenge putting that out, right?
Right, because those are, well, that's just not realistic. Well, that is
exactly. So they limit themselves to what they know they can achieve fairly quickly, right? And then so they, in their mind, they think, oh, I can do that, and so they never take the action of writing it down. And so what we're wanting to do is push those limits and get the dreaming juices flowing again. And I think people they struggle with that.
You know, it's fantastic, and that brings us to, look, on the Steve and Steve show, we're trying to be practical as well. And so in terms of practicality, I don't mean practical like tamping down your dreams in this case. I mean practical like, how can we do this so that, in this case, get these dreams out? And I know you taught something. It's not original, came from a lot of different books, but how about if you get 100 dreams written down, and the way you do it is to, well, tell us, Steve, how do you get some dreams just written down? What are the factors that you use in order to get those dreams written down and out?
Well, there's a variety of methods that people can do, and I think.
By the way, I apologize for interrupting, but one of the dreams is that the Denver Broncos go right back to the Super Bowl again. And I said it here on the Steve and Steve show. This guy, Drew Lock, he's the real deal. There's a dream. Sorry.
Let's hope it's not just a dream.
That's a good point.
So basically, there's a couple ways of getting people, and it's really breaking that the seal of dreaming. And so one of the ways that you can do this is go back to when you were a kid and when all possibilities are available, right? Put yourself in a state that, hey, you just won the $1 million lottery. Maybe it's not the $1 million lottery. Maybe it's one of those big ones that have, $200 million, where it's just the unlimited amount of money, unlimited amount of time. Just take that and just don't limit yourself and just start. Start with the one. Write it down and then go. And the best way to do it is get into a place where you have maybe a half hour, an hour time. Go to a coffee shop by yourself, grab your coffee and sit down and crank it out, or go on a hike.
Mountains, the ocean.
Yeah, go someplace where you're not going to be interrupted by family, friends, phone. Turn it all off and just let yourself be a kid again and let it rip, right?
Okay, excellent. So let me, if I may summarize a little of how you said this, if I understand you correctly. I'm going to go and get a piece of paper or on my phone, wherever I do it, and I'm going to just start writing these down. Now, I don't want to put the, oh, that's not possible thing. Yeah. That's like being a kid. So really, nothing's off the board. If I say, I want to one day go to Mars, would that be something I could say?
Sure.
All right.
Right, yeah. You never know.
So the point isn't to say, oh yeah, but that one no. It's to get them down.
That's right.
Because after
you start, one of the things that it's been a while, but when I was a kid, around the Christmas time, we used to have these things called the Sears catalog.
Oh yeah, right? I remember.
And
those.
So in order for you to create your list for Christmas, you would go through the Sears catalog and see what the heck is in there. Well, life is a huge catalog, right? There's so much. There's it amazes me. There's people that are born in a community and they grow up in that community. They get their job in that community.
Yeah.
And when it's time for vacation, they don't really go outside of what they're known, right? Maybe they go on a hunting trip or a camping trip, but it's always within so many miles because that's where their parents took them, right? They never explore. They never leave the state, right? And here in the United States, we have 50, and each one, it has its own wonders, its own amazing sceneries like that. And so life is like that, where we can go explore. So, and so that's just one country. right? What about all the other countries and all the other continents and
Yeah.
all the different cultures and out there? We're if you just stay in your own little spot and that's where you're at, great. But you're only seeing one chapter of life. You're staying in that one place. So be a kid and write down all the things you'd want to go do. You may not hit them all, but heck, if you make a list of 100 things that you want to go do and you go do 10,
Be awesome.
that's 10% more than what you did before.
Right.
Right. So that's, maybe it's going to Europe for a week, going to Ireland, and if you've never been to Hawaii, that's a state within the United States.
Right.
Right. Puerto Rico, it's part of the U.S. territory. You don't need a passport to go there. Right. And the funny thing is the Puerto Rican money is amazingly familiar because it's the United States.
It's the United States dollar.
It's the U.S. dollar,
Right.
right? So people don't need to think a little bit wider. I mean, get in your car and drive to the next state and spend the weekend,
Right.
right? Expand your horizon. There's a lot out there that we can explore. So that's just on travel, but there's so much.
Yeah,
other
that's
things
what I was going to ask. Is you got categories, right? So you got travel, you've got entertainment. Have you been to the theater lately, or have you gone to a live musical somewhere? Have you gone and driven one of these super go-karts or something? I mean, the point is, don't let your normal day-to-day life stop this list. The list needs to be long, and that's why we say 100, right?
That's right.
It needs to be long, and it needs to be at times just outlandish. I think you hit it when you said, be a kid.
Yeah.
Because when we were a kid, I'm going to give you a really quick story. When I was a kid, in my backyard, it was a small backyard we had, but we had a swing set back there. And I used to get on that swing set, and I would throw a kind of red little blanket of sorts on my back, and I swore that one of these times as I swung this swing, I was going to jump off of there and I was truly going to fly. Now, someone says, yeah, Steve, you're never going to fly, especially not now. The truth of the matter is, though, that dream, that feeling, that emotion that I had of jumping off of that, there was a bit of flying in me. And I got my private pilot's license. I don't discount that maybe some of that dreaming that I was doing then led towards something like that. But again, the key is don't stop it.
Just start. So we need to keep the video short, right? So, just start. Be a kid. Write them down. Don't limit yourself. If you've got 200, write 200. If you get to 50, great. You got the 50. Now, as you go through the week, you're gonna be thinking, and as you think of new ones, put it on the list, right? So it can be difficult, but once you start, man, just let it rip and keep going.
All right, great. So what you got to do, you got a little homework. You got to write these dreams down. Just get on and write them down. Some people call it a bucket list, but we're calling it dreams because bucket list is, one thing. Dreams are bigger.
There's a deadline on a bucket list.
There is a deadline on a bucket list. Dreams are wide. Now, what we'll do after this, of course, is we'll turn some of these dreams into goals. So kind of teased a little bit of another potential video here, right? Or you might have seen that.
Well, we might have talked about that.
You might have already had that.
Yeah. But
anyway.
But we're going to hit on goals and dreams multiple times because it's something that people need to continually think about and review. So I'm sure there'll be probably a dozen or so topics around that. So.
All right, well, make it a great day. Go make someone smile and...
All right. Cheers.